Okay. Went to educated school, back on land, uh, in an intellectual radio. It's Chris Jackson again. And I actually thought that my time was up, but was just dealing with a lot of topics, dealing with some things in reference to the deaths of the people who are being killed. I mean, we have so many people who've been out here and just shot because of a nervous cop. You shot in the back, shot down because you even if, just me not obeying the command. You shot me because I didn't obey the command, not that you saw a gun. You thought I had a gun, and so you were responding faster because whatever the case. Uh, there's always there's always a way to handle a situation. My dad used to always tell me, and my uncle always told me, your first 30 seconds are going to determine how the rest of your night goes when the police pull you over. And how you respond is how it's going to go. So you can about read how someone is. That's what my point was in reference to the security officer. What officer pulls up to a club anywhere in America and doesn't know that the man in all black is the security? That's a very alarming thing for me. And your only excuse is to say, well, he wasn't dressed properly, or he didn't have this on, or he didn't have any identifying marks. Well, dates he had on, from my understanding, he had on a hat and shirt that said security, and whatever size he was. Now, look at it from my perspective. I pull up as an officer. Someone had to have called and said what was going on. There were 4 people shot. I pull up as an officer. I see a man on his face with a gun in his back being detained in some form of a police fashion. Instead of me getting out of the car, identifying myself, asking him to identify himself, he doesn't hear me. I get closer to make sure that he does hear me, because if I just shoot him and he didn't hear me, I should be at fault for that. But I get closer and I make myself known, and he tells me, this is who was shooting. We have a man that's alive. We have a situation that's taken care of. We're going about our day. But that didn't happen. We had a situation where the cop just got out of the car, and from what they said, the report is that he told him to drop his gun a number of times. He didn't comply and he shot him. But the people around the officer were telling him, it's not him. He's security. He's whatever the case. And it wasn't dealt with properly. So that has to be dealt with. But then again, I know that there were some protesters that came from out of there in that area. I remember seeing them. I remember seeing them on another radio station. They spoke about it. But where are the people at who always have something to say? Where were the people at who need some notoriety? We got brothers that walk around anytime there's a shooting, they there before the police get there. Saying they spokesman for the families, et cetera, et cetera. Shout out to Callahan, E.W. Callahan, Funeral Services. That's my partner. As I always say, don't let him hug you and never cough around him, because he thinks something wrong with you. He's sizing you up. To all of the military, you had a function recently. To all the military vets, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming home with all your faculties. For those who didn't make it home, you will be missed. You'll always be remembered. For those who have some type of condition, some type of situation going on with them, remember that, as my sister Kimmy spoke on, as you've heard me say before, uh, there was a woman who had an issue, and all she wanted to do was touch the hem of his garment. See, when you know that you have a God, and I always say this, they practice medicine. Doctors practice medicine. You have a doctor that, when called by his name, any and all things can be handled. You can't just sit in there on Sunday and talk that talk, but then when something happens to you, you go in witness protection. Now you don't believe. See, you have to have some type of way. Yeah, probably was, Vincente. I understand what you're saying. Uh, I know that when you get in a situation where you have to draw your weapon, uh, you're either loud, audible, or you don't know what's going on because you came up on a situation. You're exactly right. A lot of times it is the hindsight. It is the, well, it's easy, as they call it, the armchair comments. It's easy to have, a comment, a thought from here. My only problem with that is there's nothing in life that you should not be trained for in almost live condition. You are in the military. Those are live rounds coming at your head when you're going through some of those trainings. When you're in the martial arts, you get put in a submission hold. You can't handle it. You tap out until you learn how to counter that. So, when you when you when you can't deal with the situation, that means you're not ready. That means you're not ready. You ever cooked a 2-minute egg? It's not ready, but a 3-minute egg is. You ever cook a chicken and it wasn't ready? You'll know it because you're fighting with the bone. Everything has a time frame. Everything in life has a time frame. Animals deal with that. Animals take a bird and push him out. Hey, you better flap a flop. See, we have that same thing in life. We call it 18 years. You've been at home 18 years. And now when it's time to go, you're not ready. Well, what were you doing all these years? It's called preparation. And we already know about the P's. If you're not prepared, you're going to have a problem. You're not prepared to drive, but you're on the Dan Ryan in rush hour. Somebody finna die. You're not prepared. What did Bill Cosby used to say? Yeah, I still listen to Bill Cosby. What did Bill Cosby used to say? Getting to the Apollo is the test. Once you get here, this should be easy. Just go out there and do what you do. Getting here was the hard part. Now that you're here, this is the easy part. How do you get here to the Apollo and get nervous? How do you get in a situation to where you get nervous? So what kind of training are you getting? Are they just passing people through? Do you know how to disarm a man when a weapon is in your face with one or two hands? Some things you watch on television are not phony. You just don't know how to do them. I know that you weren't sticking up for him. I understood that, and we always try to look for some type of reason. What went wrong? Something had to have gone wrong. And also we have to understand that sometimes you just don't meet the requirements. Many of us over the age of 40 are eligible to be president, but we don't have the 270 electoral votes. Just because I put on a Bears jersey does not mean I can play on the team. So many of us who have passed the class doesn't mean that we're ready to be officers. Sometimes, you look at that year and some change probation. If you haven't been able to be in battle or be in a situation where you can observe and know what's going on, you still ain't ready. We see that in basic hair cutting. Because you passed the class does not mean you can cut hair. That just means you passed the class. So uh, everything has its reason. Everything has its justification. Everything has its, as not necessarily its excuse. I do not feel that you should have a particular job of that magnitude if you're not mentally capable to sustain what's going on. It could be easy for me to say. Right. Not used to the type of situation we see in Chicago. We see a lot more in a day than they see. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. You see some stuff getting it cracking when you're in certain areas in Chicago. You're exactly right. So as we've always known, if you're a Chicago cop, you can make it anywhere in the country. You can make it anywhere in the country. So we're going to have to figure some things out. We're going to have to get some things together. And I'm calling on all of the men. See, one thing that can possibly happen. I know that my partner spoke about this at Marshall High School. Jamie Poole, he's the principal. And he said the worst kids in the school have a detention room. And he said what they do is they take 10 students and they adopt them and mentor them to get them to get some type of change. When was the last time you really held a conversation with someone who you knew was struggling? We don't do that. We want to give away stuff. We want to give away things. Here you go. That's what we do as parents. We buy Xboxes and PlayStations and buy our kids off. You're having an argument. You're holding conversation. You're negotiating with somebody that don't pay bills in the house. You don't even negotiate with your man, and he don't pay bills in the house, but you negotiating with your child. So we got to get some things together. We really do. We really do. It's about the accountability. Some people just don't want to understand that, they weren't ready. You weren't ready to be parents. You weren't ready to do a lot of things. Your children are out here reckless. They're terrorists, and you want to put that baby picture up of them at the funeral home like they were good kids. No, that wasn't true. That was a lie. They were out here. Crime went down 30% when the guy got killed out there coreless in that gas station. It's when you walk up to a man to take his car at gunpoint, you are a terrorist. I laugh at. I always laugh because Bernie Mac said this. He said, and I say it: police brutality has its place. Police brutality has its place. I really wish that we went back to the old school days of policing. I've had on a level 3 vest before, and that's heavy. So I can understand with all of that gear on, you chase somebody down, he got to get jumped on. You made me chase after you. But the old school policing helped keep things together. Now, there's zero respect. You don't respect teachers. You don't respect parents. Mothers are just looking pitiful and scared to death. I see this stuff all the time. And, what are we doing? We're just passing the buck. But I mean, we're always making up an excuse of whose fault it is because, that happened in scripture. Let me sprinkle a little Bible on that. Adam did blame Eve, and Eve blamed the so-called serpent. No one took accountability for what's going on. You're right, Vincente. It starts at home. Everything starts at home. It all starts at home. See, when we talk about spare the rod, spoil the child, most people are always thinking about a belt because you forget about that rod that Moses held. You think it was a snake. But see, Moses was spitting knowledge. And Pharaoh said, "You're very smart, but I'm smart too." But he called 2 sorcerers, 2 wise men. He didn't start talking. He called 2 other people, and they started talking. But they say that his snake ate up the other two because God was present. See, the truth will always outshine darkness. I won't get into that story about how uh, truth was fighting a lie, and you know, but there are a lot of parables, a lot of things that we deal with. We have them right there in Scripture. Whatever Scripture you deal with, it's in Quran, it's in the Bible, it's in the Septuagint, it's in the Vigda. What did I say? Uh, yeah, that word. Um, it's everything is in Scripture, but you have to have some discernment. You have to have some discernment. The practice of making you a Jew is the circumcision of your foreskin to keep your organ clean. But if you don't use the circumcision of your heart to get that larceny out of it, you're going to always continue to be that way with people. We really don't, we say we care about people, but we don't. This is the reason why we try to look like everyone else, why we try to behave like everyone else, because you're ashamed. You're ashamed of who you really are. See, I've always had that dark skin thing, this fat nose I remember being upset about that until I got older and realized all of you come from me. I look at a box of crayons and know where they come from. All of them derive from the black one. But it's a lot easier to come up with. How you get mad at Tiger Woods for calling himself Colopolasian, but yet I can go to Sherwin-Williams and look at 9,000 different colors of paint. There were only 5 primary colors. There were only 5 primary colors. But you call things different things because it sounds better. We always want to have something to say we originated something. I deal with that in a lot of different things. Well, we started this, or, I was the first this. Who cares? What are you doing about it? As I told a brother, I'm not concerned with how you start your Grand Lodge. I'm not concerned with anything you're doing. All I'm concerned with is how are you feeding your people, mentally and physically and spiritually. What are you doing about it? That's it. It's the effort. As my man told me, and I always stand on this, and that's why I wear this lion ring, 2 animals wake up with 2 different thought processes. The gazelle wakes up every day knowing he has to run faster than everything out there to stay alive. The lion wakes up knowing he only has to run faster than the slowest gazelle. Are you the gazelle or are you the lion? Where's your mindset at? Mediocrity is for cowards. That's part of the Navy SEAL mindset, being mediocre. So when a man tells you that he was top shelf before you ever knew what went up there, you think that's arrogance. But all things of value on the top shelf. Just walk in the stores and look and see everything that's high is on the top shelf. All the low budget stuff is down low. So it's all about the thought process, your mindset. You can never change your condition until you first change the condition of yourself. That's Character Education 101. So I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was. And I've had a lot of things come up for me. Happy for me. A lot of things are going well for me. And I still don't look 48, getting ready to be 49 in February. So I guess it's 8:00 now. Hopefully I didn't bring any shame upon this radio show. And I spoke on a few things that could help someone or at least give some type of direction to someone. Next week, I don't know what the topic will be. There will be a guest here. I can't recall what show she's from, but we'll have different topics and conversation. I should be here. Hopefully, I'm here. Be here if God's willing. I'll be here. I got a lot of things going on, and trying to keep my not let any grass grow under my feet. And so, again, I thank you for listening, uh, Brother Wright. Uh, I'm happy for you, brother. You know that award was real heartfelt. I saw you snot bubbling when we were down there in Texas, and but you deserve that. You know, you're a good brother, man. You really are. You know, y'all treat me very well in Texas. Troy Rochelle, his wife, uh, everyone. It's just a lot. Dre Jones, everyone. They all treat me real well in Texas. Um, PGME, DT, uh, DT. You know, I'm still hurting for you, brother. Whether you listening or not. You know, with the passing of your son, and I'm gonna get that picture made. I told you that I'm gonna have. I'm either gonna draw it myself or I'm gonna have it drawn up for you with your son on a nice mural that you can hang and have at your house. I'm trying to figure out if I was gonna be petty and give it to you in front of everybody so they can see you break down and I break down with you, or if I'm gonna give it to you when I come to the house when I come to Texas again. But either way, I know how you feel and I know how you feel about me because you my man. We on this snack cake mission. Um, but with that being said, good night, everyone. Yes, sir, Josias.